So in this video, we are going to learn about Developer Console, which is Salesforce's very own IDE, that is Integrated Development Environment. So let's take a look at some major features of the Developer Console. Using Developer Console, we can edit, compile, and save our Apex code. In Salesforce, we need to create classes to save our code. So compilation of that classes and saving it into the metadata of Salesforce is done by the Developer Console. There are certain Apex snippets that we want to execute before we add to an existing method or function in an existing class. So that is something can be done using the second feature, which is executing the Apex code anonymously. Generate and inspect Apex logs. Unlike the traditional development environments like .NET, Java, or Node.js, Salesforce does not allow us to do the debugging by adding the breakpoints because execution of Apex happens on the server side. So locally, we cannot add breakpoints and do the debugging. For that reason, whenever any Apex code snippet is executed, whether it is from a class or through anonymous execution of Apex logs are generated. This is nothing but a text file which we can inspect using the Developer Console. The next feature is execution of test methods and review of the code coverage. In Salesforce, it is necessary that every Apex code, which is the class and the methods that we write in it, should be tested automatically. For that, we need to write test classes which are executed, and those test classes executes the code in the Apex classes. And that way, we make sure that majority of the executable statements in an Apex code are tested. The last major feature is to write, test, and execute the SOQL or SOSL queries. SOQL means Salesforce Object Query Language, and SOSL means Salesforce Object Search Language. Now, let's do a walkthrough of all of these features in a Developer Console. So let's log in to our Developer Edition. So once you log into your Salesforce instance, you need to find this wrench icon, click on it, and you need to click on the Developer Console. In general, if you are using a Salesforce's Developer Edition or you are a system administrator of a sandbox or a production org, you should be able to find this option. If you are not able to find the Developer Console option, here you need to contact your system administrator. So right now we are in the Developer Console. Let's create a class and add a method to it. For the sake of demo, we will create a class named Calculator. And we'll add a method to it which will do the addition of two numbers and return the result of that. Once you finish writing your Apex code, you need to save this snippet. You can save this snippet by hitting the Ctrl and S button. Whenever we save any Apex class, Salesforce does compilation of that. First, it compiles the code to check the syntax errors, then it checks the semantics, and if everything is correct, it will save that class into the Salesforce metadata. In case if there is any error during the compilation process, Salesforce reports that error or problem through this tab on the Developer Console. Now, let's try to execute this doAdd method from the execute anonymous Apex feature. Using the statement system.debug, we can print the output in the Apex debug logs. This is very helpful for debugging the Apex code. Once you click on the execute button, Salesforce will execute the Apex snippet that is there in the execute anonymous window and will generate the debug log which you can review and inspect through the logs tab. By clicking on the debug only option, you will be able to see the debug that was printed using the system.debug statement. Now let's write a test class for this class. You need to add @istest as an annotation to the class which you want Apex to detect as a test class. By using the keyword test method, you designate a function or a method as a test method. Remember that in a test class you need to add test methods which are static ones. Inside the test method, you need to write the logic to call the methods of the class which you want to test. Then optionally, you can add the method system.assert=equals to check and compare the result that is written by the method and the one that you are actually expecting. And if both are not matching, you can also specify an error message that will be displayed in the debug logs. Also, remember that the test methods that you are writing should return void. By clicking on the button Run Test on the top right corner of the window, you can run the test methods in the test class. The result of the test class execution can be observed in the Tests tab at the bottom. By clicking on the Code Coverage button at the left top of the screen, we can see the code coverage. Now, let's observe what will happen if the test class execution fails. You can see in the Tests tab, the test execution has failed. By clicking on the test execution failure log, we can see the actual errors that were thrown. Now, finally, let's just recorrect the method and do the testing again. You see, the test class was executed successfully. Now, let's understand how can we execute SOQL and SOSL queries in Developer Console. For this, you need to go to the tab Query Editor, and there you need to type in the SOQL statement. Once you have finished typing your query, you need to click on the Execute button at the bottom left of the screen. In the main canvas, you can see the result of the query execution. Now, let's try out a SOSL query. If you like this video, please do like and share. If you want to receive more of such informative content, please hit the subscribe button. If you want us to make content related to any Salesforce or Salesforce related topic, please do let us know through comments.